yet another edition of Cooking with Blondes. Today we're cooking with one of my favorite blondes. Marley is back from Phoenix, and we're cooking traditional Cuban cuisine. The reason is that, of course, it's Shakers, but because we have a Cuban night gig coming up on the 17th of December, that's this Saturday, 2022. So these are going to be the authentic foodstuffs of Cuba, authentic flavors, not the kind of thing you typically get in Milwaukee, the real deal. So we're going to begin with a Ropa Vieja. Ropa Vieja, Lucy Cranston is old clothes, shredded clothes. Going to use a flank steak. It's a slow cooking process, but I'm going to show you how this goes together. And then at home, I'd recommend doing this in a Dutch oven, a pressure cooker, something like that. Take your time with the dish. The more time it takes to cook, the better it is. It's even, in fact, much better the next day. Marley, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's scoop these shrimp out of the way for just a moment over here. Take these little guys. These will be coming up soon. And we're going to take our flank steak. Got about 3 pounds of flank steak right here. Looks like any other flank steak, and the beautiful thing about this is that when it cooks, it's all going to start to shred apart. So like shredded clothes. It's a beautiful process. So what I'm going to do with this is take this into a pan right now. There's a few different ways to start this off. I'm going to take this kind of just as a whole entity as it is right now. Okay? So we don't have to cut this. But I will grab this large pan right here. Again, at home, I'd recommend using this as a pressure cooker or a Dutch oven and a low, slow cooking process. So some fine extra virgin olive oil right here. What people don't really understand about Cuba is that in many ways it is an extraction of Spanish cuisine. And the average Cuban in Cuba identifies much more with Spain than he does with anything else in the Caribbean or Central or South America. So we're going to make one cut just to accommodate the size of the pan. Just as simple as that. It's beautiful. Again, you see how the muscles are, these little striations, they're all going to pull apart as little shredded products. It's a beautiful presentation. That's just going to go in there. You're going to be happy. You're going to have to heat a little bit, and there we are. So, taking a towel, I'm going to wipe our blade, though everything is going to go together. And I want you to start off by doing these lovely peppers, these lovely bell peppers. So we talked about this before. When you cut, you should always take your fingers and make a bridge. Doesn't matter if you're left or right-handed. And make a little bridge like that, and that way you don't cut your fingertips off. Because it's messy, nobody wants that. It hurts too. So this is one way to do this. You are very familiar with that. And the other way, a little contrast, we'll take this beautiful red and do the same thing. You cut it like this, you cut it like that. You make a slit here, and then you can just follow yourself with your knife blade all the way around the membrane on the inside. Isn't that cool?
It is cool.
All right, my dear, it's up to you. Start cutting, and we'll have another pan ready for you in a moment.
So just all the way around?
Sure, if you can. Now, this is not the kind of thing you master in one day or one moment, so don't be
all
upset
right.
about that. Just do the best you can with it.
Got it.
So while Marley is working on the pepper, I'll get another blade over here, and I will work on one of the onions. So you can use anything you like. I happen to like the flavor and the color of red and yellow together. If you want to use whites, feel free. So again, I just cut from top to bottom, pole to pole. You can get a skin off here. And while I'm doing this, if you wouldn't mind taking these down, we don't, of course, want the little stemmy thing, so that's going to go away. And you're going to cut this into long, thin slices, as long, thin as you can. Okay. Maybe like a 1/4 inch by that 2.5 or 3 inches. Okay. So normally at Shakers, we save the skins on the onions. We'll use this for a stock. It could be for a mirepoix. It could be for an onion soup, any number of things. But just to be expedient here today, we're going to the waste container. Recycle what you can. It's important that you realize whenever you cook that you are doing something that most people won't do or can't do or afraid to do. So don't be afraid of something. Just get in there and have a good time with this. Now, what I like in this cut is just to take our produce and mimic these striations, these long cuts of meat, the strings. So again, I'm cutting pole to pole, top to bottom. So I cut halfway through, right? I turn it around that way, and then it makes it easier to hold onto and to cut. So I see a lot of people that really struggle, and they're gonna try to go through this whole way like this, and then at this point they find out that they have really a little to hold on to, right? And that's really hard to cut that way. So you flip it around like that, and you come through. Just like that, easy. And this is not a race, so you don't have to go fast, right? We want your fingertips to stay on. We want to have a consistent size. And, you know, this will take a little practice. I've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, so I recommend highly that you take your time with anything that you cook and really savor the moment and the zen of cooking. I think it's just so important to really let things emote and get into themselves to you. Marley, if you'd hand me the large pan that's right underneath that mixing bowl. Stick that right up on here. A little heat on that. Again, we're using extra virgin olive oil. I do not recommend butter for this dish, and I certainly stay away from the corn oils and things like that. Just very incredibly unhealthy. This is truly what Cubans do. So we got this down, and while I'm going to put this in there, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get the rest of these cut down as well. The greens all the way down. This, by the way, is a simple bench knife. I got this out of the way for you. It's a simple bench knife. It's also called a pastry knife. And anybody who bakes is familiar with using these. They're essential everyday shakers. We use these to scoop things up. Yes, you could use your blade. The problem with that is this is maybe an inch and a half across, and you get so much more with this. It's so much neater, much more hygienic in so many ways as well. So a lot of people don't like to use the tops, the crowns on these. I do. I like to use as much as I possibly can, and part of that is because once you spend time in Cuba, you will appreciate the fact that it is a third world country, and the produce that they have is the best that's available that day. And it has little to do with being blemish-free. We are so spoiled in America that we think that the produce of the food doesn't taste good if it's got a little boo-boo on it, it's got a little blemish on it. That's not factual at all. The rest of the world would be ecstatic to have what we throw away every single day. So all we're doing here now is just, again, our peppers up here, breaking down the cellulose in these. Same thing with our lovely onion right here. If you ever had the opportunity to go to Cuba, you should. If you're expecting to stay in the Ritz-Carlton, that's not going to happen. They don't have one. But it's not going to happen anyway. What you're there for, should be for, is to experience the people and the culture, the art. The music is extraordinary, gracious, marvelously friendly people. Unlike things you can find like in Jamaica or some other places that are also in the Caribbean, but have a completely different mindset for people. So this is going to work itself away. Again, unfortunately, you can't smell what we're smelling, but to me, this smells really good to start off with. And we're going to make it even a little bit better. So there are some fairly basic Cuban spices that we use these here for a couple of dishes. And paprika is everywhere. Again, think about Spanish and how that cuisine really influenced so much here. Cumin as well. So sometimes we toast the cumin or cumin. We're not going to in this case. A little bit of oregano. And for this dish, I prefer to actually use Greek oregano, not to use Mexican oregano. There's a slight difference, and a little bit of garlic powder here, and a little bit of salt. So these are the basics in any of the Cuban cuisine that I've experienced. Also going to take some whole garlic cloves right here. So Marley, over here, I think you've done this before with me, just take them and smash them. When you smash the garlic, it's much sweeter than if you cut it first. So we're not looking for any sharp tones. It's going to cook for a long period of time, but we just want to have this really marvelous flavor that takes place, and it's going to build upon itself, and it just layers and layers and builds and builds. It's really a nice little dish. Now, people often think about Cuban dishes, they think that you have to have some spicy things going on there. Not true. Cuban cuisine, from my experience, is probably one of the most mild cuisines in the entire, all of Latin America and all of Central America. Central America is just incredibly mild, perfected, and again, it's much more Spanish than it is anything else. And that's what we're going to experience today with this. I will take one of these banana chili peppers here, and we are just going to cut this in small little discs as well, and that's going to go in there. So at this point, you can take the garlic and toss it into your vegetables over there. And that can follow suit there as well. So let's get this in here. And just a simple tong if you want to use a slotted spoon if you want to use a spatula or anything. It really doesn't matter. Use what's right for you, what fits your hand best, and what's handy. So just to get a little searage on the other side, I'm turn it over for just a moment. Again, if you did this in a pressure cooker or Dutch oven, you can skip this step completely. I just want to get a little color on that like that. So here I'm just going to take this though and stick that right there. Take this piece, nice little sizzle, stick that right there. Pour this over the top. There's one more thing I want to do here. I'm going to grab a little bit of tomato paste and put that in. You don't need much on this, just a little bit of the essence of tomato that's going to float itself into and around there. Here we have some lovely olives. So again, think about Spain, think about Valencia, think about any number of things, but olives are certainly a part of this, and olives are going to go into our dish as well. Look good so far?
It does.
All right, so now we're going to take this and put this in an oven. It's going to cook low and slow, and we're just going to be done with this for a moment or two, okay?
Okay.
Yum?
Yum.
Yum. Now, again, I'd like to put this in a pressure cooker or something that's had a lid on top, like a Dutch oven. We're going to replicate the same type of thing here. We're doing this ourselves. So the lid from one side is on the top. That's going to maintain the temperature inside. It's going to steam. It's going to break that fiber down so nicely in that meat. And in a couple hours, this will be exquisite. Well, you and I won't be here. At least you won't be anymore, but we will be. So here we are. I hope you enjoyed that portion. Ropa Vieja at Shakers. Very important, you're good to yourself with everything you cook. Cook with love for your people and your family, the people that you care about. Cheers.